Hi, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of the Digital Loop. Today, we are transmitting all the way from Warsaw, Poland.
Warsaw, hi.
Yes.
Yeah, it's actually only my second time here. First time was very short, but this time I spoke at a conference that Ivan helps organize here in Warsaw. It's called the Digital Think Tank, which is why we gave the title of this episode Digital Think Tank. You want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, Digital Think Tank is an initiative that basically is organizing different events for executives to understand the new realities of the digital era and what it takes to begin the whole journey of digital transformation, which is something that we notice a lot of companies are struggling because of different reasons. And actually, that's one of the areas that I spoke about during my presentation.
Speech, yeah.
Thank you.
No, it was different from what you used to. It was a little bit out. The goal for today, that's how we sold this conference to me, was to, you still have in a room a lot of people that come from marketing, but it was to show them that there was much more beyond marketing, to show them there was, innovation, this is a catchword, sorry, but to show them that there's other stuff. And you went into the whole customer journey experience, but not only, also to show what makes countries innovative and stuff. So you want to tell a few words about that?
Yeah, we talk about the journey of digital transformation. Transformation is different of change. Change is about fixing something that is broken. Transformation is about creating new opportunities. And basically, the argument that I gave is the fact that if we want to move forward, we need to stop looking at the past. We need to stop looking at our past performance, trying to fix things, because at the end of the day, very often you end up with just a slightly better version of what you had in the past. If you really want to transform your business, you really need to look into the future and into the possibilities that you can create thanks to transformation. Talking about digital, I mentioned a couple of research done that show at what stages first countries. There are different countries, about 50 countries in this study. We were going to put the link on the show notes. At what stage of this digital evolution there are countries that are rapidly advancing, countries like Hong Kong, like Singapore, but there are also countries that are actually going really slow, or they're not even moving forward, like in the report show Czech Republic and the Netherlands. We are in Poland, so we talk a little bit about Poland. Poland is at the stage that is right in the middle. It's slowly moving forward, but not as fast as it could. And basically, part of my presentation was, what are the things that companies in Poland and in general across the region or across the world need to take into consideration to get moving forward the entire economy by making changes independently in each company.
A caveat to the rankings, because maybe some people in the Netherlands would say, "What? We're not moving forward." It's more. It doesn't mean that the country is less advanced. It means that, and that's according to that report, that at that moment, at this current moment in time, apparently there are no moves towards, but the country is already really advanced. So this is where the caveat I would put there. But it's always interesting to benchmark countries, although it's very hard to do it because every country has different realities. But it's true that there's so much stuff that needs to be done for a country to be innovative by itself. When you think about it, it means a lot and nothing at the same time. I'll come to the definition of what is innovation a bit later, but it's tough because it requires so many stakeholders to actually activate. You have, obviously the regulation, so the framework, which is done by the regulation and governments, obviously, but also culture and or then businesses themselves, the business culture itself. So there's so much stuff so many layers on top of each other. And this is what I think you've showed greatly, is that you've showed that if people only stop thinking about digital, which is another catchword, then you're not moving, because there's so many other parts that need to be done, which is obviously people, talent management. There's so many other things that need to be done to go into that phase of digital transformation. I know that the term digital transformation by itself is a bit problematic because it says digital, but you want to go towards digitizing the way you work, but that requires a lot of stuff that are not digital at all, which is just people's management, talent management, culture of the enterprise, and which trickles down to people and trickles up to the country as well.
Yeah, another part of the presentation I mentioned that digital transformation. This is a little bit based on the research done by Capgemini and MIT. They show that in order to accomplish this transformation, this process of moving forward in this digital evolution, there are two elements that are very important. Improvement and development of digital capabilities, but also improvement and development of leadership capabilities.
Yeah.
And leadership, not the typical buzzword, like, leadership, whatever, but actually, when everybody from the top down, everybody at all levels of the organization and across all the different units, everybody understands what needs to be taken in order to continue growing and continue moving towards this new digital
But not only
reality.
understand, but also being empowered to do so, which is often the toughest one, the toughest case. It's true that when you look at a few case studies in terms of transforming into a more digital company, again, a lot of caveats there, but one of the things that's lacking there is that more often than not, you'd see a company that will say, okay, we're going to invest in digital, and they're going to do a digital business unit, and that's about it. Which is why, by the way, a lot of companies are investing heavily on the marketing side, because the communication side is one that is easy to understand where the digital fits. But then they're forgetting about the rest of the company. The digital touches, from your financial services to regulation, internal regulations, corporate affairs, everything. It can't digital touches it, and that's. You need to build up capacity that trickles down in every type of unit, and also to make them work horizontally. It's easy to say, though, very hard to do.
Yeah, and basically we show how different industries are dealing with this new reality, and also how different companies are moving in that direction. There are companies that they are at the beginning of the journey. There are companies that are very active from the point of digital capabilities point of view, but they lack the leadership. So they have
and there's also, depending on which industry you're coming in, because of course some industry have been either touched by this transformation much earlier. Of course, we can think about content, so news, etc., because they've been touched by the digitization of life much earlier than others. But then there's some other factors. It could be regulation, could be other stuff. This is why, for instance, now financial services, so banking and finance, are moving slowly into the possibility of being either disrupted or they have to change. Whereas you see pharma is also going there. Of course, there's always been a lot of investment in biotech, etc. So I'm not saying that they've done nothing. I'm trying to say that the space of at which these industries move depend a lot of external factors. And of course, like if you look at manufacturing still kind of lags behind in terms, maybe they haven't seen the need yet, or maybe they haven't seen the changes in their industry yet. It doesn't mean that they're worse than others. It means that depending on your industry, the effect it has on you still might not have touched you.
Yeah, and basically that was like the whole essence of the presentation, talking about how different companies are moving at different pace. Different companies are accomplishing different advancements from both digital and leadership. And that the most important is a combination of both. If you focus just on the new, investing heavily on new technology, investing on new mobile and analytics and social media, but you lack the development from the leadership point of view, you're not going to be able to move forward as effectively as a company that is actually working in both areas. And the end of my presentation, I focus on the element of customer experience. We have mentioned in the past in different episodes the fact that I believe that customer experience should be at the heart of digital transformation. The fact that the world is no longer, there's a division between digital and online and offline, but actually the lines are completely blurred.
It's one single reality. I mean, and we both said that if you ask any kid today about a difference, he or she will look at you and say, well, what the hell are you talking about? Because there's no difference. And by the way, that's the state of industry as well, because for a long time, because that's another thing, when you think about where you stand in terms, you stand in terms of your industry, in terms of your country, but also the state of industry. We moved on. Social media was like kindergarten. So it was, at first you were consuming stuff, which was online, and then you were sharing stuff that other people did, and you started remixing stuff that people were doing and adding your own spin on it. And now we're entering in an era where actually you also put money where your mouth is, so crowdfunding, etc. So we maturing as well in terms of how we understand digital. But and that's a point that is interesting, is that you can see a good example is to see that now, and we said that in several episodes, you do something on an app, for instance, and it acts, there's a reality in the physical world. Of course, you want an apartment in New York for a week, and you go on your Airbnb app and you look for it, and then so click a button on your phone and something happens in real life. So that also means that it's really blending also in terms of the industry reality. So having still this kind of separation in our mind is making us a disservice and making companies a disservice. So you're absolutely right. You have to be very careful of understanding this as a whole and not stop thinking about units or siloing, because that's the word a lot of marketers like to talk. It's the siloing. It's actually dangerous, because that's where you don't see it coming, because you don't see the other angles.
And the implications from the marketing point of view, I think that it's important that brands or companies understand that what is going to build your brand is not the product, is not the marketing, is not the message, but actually the experience that every user has in every single touch point. Whether it's on your phone, whether it's in person, whether it's on your website, every single touch point has an impact on the customer experience. So if we're talking about growing and developing this digital transformation process, executives, companies, marketers need to understand the importance of having focusing on creating beautiful, amazing, exciting, great experience at every single touch point.
Yeah, you give the example of we had Alex Hunter here on this show. I think it was season 1 or 2, 1 anyway, and he was telling us about how he shaped the strategy for Virgin America when we launched a few years ago, 6-7 years ago, I don't remember exactly. And one of the work they did was to imagine when you want to take a flight, when you want to simply travel, what are all the touch points for, like, I'm thinking about traveling, to I'm looking at advertising for an airline or a destination, to I'm looking at the website of booking, to Google Ads, every single thing. Then to I go to the airport, and what happens at the airport, the entire experience, both online, for example, booking a ticket, to offline, the actual experience in the plane, in the airport, etc. So then they mapped it, and they tried to understand where were the breaking points, where were the negative, where were the risks, and you can map that out and try to actually build that experience. And this is, I know we've been saying that in many episodes here, but I think this is one of the key things, because it's also inspiring then, and this is something I'm going to talk tonight because I'm so on talk. It's about how this mapping of experience does not only work for marketing, for the experience as a customer, but works for everything. It could be working internally as talent, as when you grow in a company, when you want to create the culture of your company. The same thing, mapping all these out can actually help a lot. And I think that was a great example you took there to explain, by customer experience is like, how do we interface with life, basically. And I think that was really good.
Yeah. Thank you. And well, you spoke about.
Well, I mean, we are in a similar wavelength, and I'm not going to go over the entire presentation, but similar. I went into looking at what drives businesses, so technology, and keep talking about technology. But the reason I started with technology is because it's sexy, but that's the danger, is it? Because it's too sexy. Sometimes we go into something like to call technology determinism. So because the technology exists, something will happen, and we tend to forget that at the end of the day, we're still us, still humans, and people decide what we do. We create the business, we create the technology. Maybe one day Skynet will wake up and technology will take over, but we still have our fate in our own hands in a way. So that's why, obviously there's Moore's law is in full effect. Technology is going very fast. Processing power, the platforms are global now, so it creates an extremely flat world with the margins, the efficiencies are very efficient, meaning you can have everything on demand. The workforce is on demand, the supply chain is on demand. You as a customer, your car is on demand. Everything can be on demand. It's not yet completely there, but that's the direction we're going. By the way, it's not a judgment here. It could be some parts of it is negative. It's a fact. But that's the way the trend that it seems to be going. And then I move to people and say, how does it impact us as people, and what are the choices we're making? But also not only the choices, but simply our foundations. And I believe, and I said that many times as well, that a lot of what we are is the foundation is being found where you're, a kid and a teenager, because that impacts the rest of your life, is how you believe in stuff, and how you purchase, and how you buy, and how you trust, and how you live in general. And I think the fact that currently these technologies are going much faster, we can see that the shift to the new generation, what we're called, might be very, very important, and more important than we actually see. They will be very much empowered. And then, to cut it short, went to business models. How does that impact business models and companies? And basically, this is where I said that innovation, that's kind of my pet peeve sometimes, that, you know, everybody talks about innovation like everybody used to talk about progress, because innovation is a new word for progress. But the innovation is finding a new solution with new requirements, is basically it. So you're like, oh, I have this, and oh, like we could expand this to the other thing, and that maybe will meet the market. And if you meet the market, you make money. I mean, this is, and you have a lot of companies that are extremely innovative in pharma, and big companies, because the problem as well, sometimes, especially when you work a lot with the startup community, it seems that innovation is only coming from either startups or technology companies like Apple, because they have an Apple Watch, that's innovation, and you forget that there's a lot of other innovation happening. And then disruption, that's a very big difference. Is disruption is basically doing 80% of something that is already been done for 20% of the price, and that's where somebody hits you, and a company can make or break, because the ceiling is really wiped out under you, and you have another company that does 80%, but in a world that good enough is enough. So I was looking a bit like that, trying to tell the audience that is, and actually, sorry, I make a parenthesis here. It's interesting to see, compared to what I said about, you know, how we're formed in our formative years impact us for the rest of our lives. You can see that in the audience today, because as an audience, you know, you and me both see different audiences in different countries, so the culture and everything has a lot to do. But in terms of how people react as an audience is very much correlated with how they were brought up at school. And if you have a school system that tells you that there's a teacher you have to respect and you don't have to oppose his teachings, then maybe you have to just stay quiet. Then you can still feel that the audience is quiet. And it's true that here there's a break, kind of a natural break in Eastern Europe before and after 1989. You see older audiences are very, by quiet, it's not negative. They listen, they're very into what you're saying, but they do not react. Whereas other school systems where you encourage the kids to actually talk and interact, and, you know, even like a pause what the teacher says, then you can see that the audience is more reactive. And I think this is exactly what I was trying to say, is that these are the years that not only this is a small example how you react in an audience as for public speaking, but that impacts how you buy stuff, how you trust, including brands, how you love, everything. And this is why I think it's interesting for brands, obviously, but also for talent management, for companies. Okay, what are my next employees, to understand these dynamics, to see, okay, what are not only the technology side, but understand what the people are. So yeah, sorry for that parenthesis, but I was reminded this morning, because it was really, there was a younger crowd there, and it was a slightly older crowd, and I could totally feel the difference between these two crowds. It's not only age; it's really the way they were brought up.
Yeah, the way of thinking. So yeah, basically that's what we're doing today here in Warsaw.
Which is beautiful weather, by the way.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's much better than London. I mean, it's really, really great. So I'm really.
And well, we're gonna go back right now to continue with the conference.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make this little parenthesis to share with you guys what the two of us are doing today here in Warsaw. The Digital Loop is together again.
Yes.
And well, hopefully we're gonna have the opportunity to record again together in the future.
Yep.
Once again, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, contact us. You can contact us on our website. There's a contact form over there. We can contact us on Twitter, on Facebook. We love hearing from you. Every once in a while, we speak at different events, different countries, different places. And when people come and tell us that, you know, we're big fans of the Digital Loop, and we listen to this, we listen to that, it's really, really nice. Also, if you have any suggestions, if you have any any suggestions about guests that you would like us to invite, please let us know.
Yeah.
And well, with that,
see you. I'm not going to say next week, because every time we say that, there's like some kind of jinxing it, and it never happens, because we both have like a heavy travel schedule. So we'll try to manage expectations. So probably next week, maybe the week after. We'll see. So this time I don't jinx it.
We just leave it at until next time.
Until next time. That bombshell again. Yeah. That was too easy. Bye, guys.
Ciao.
And now I have to. Bye-bye.